Director of Student Accessibility Resources and the director of our OASIS program, which is designed for neurodivergent students at the university level. And Efforts has a slide with my superlatives, right? Who am I on paper? What do I add to my CV? What I have on my business card? But I'd also like to share with you who I am when I'm not marketing myself. I often tell people I was born into disability advocacy. I didn't really have any control over it. And although I did try to escape it in college, I was a political science and pre-law major. And after graduation, I did corporate marketing for a number of years. When I ultimately couldn't find purpose, I got right back to my roots and I became a special education teacher. And now I'm a teacher educator. And my research focuses on neurodiversity, but again, that's not a coincidence. My aunt was born in 1958 with cerebral palsy. So I grew up in a house where we always considered her access even long after she passed away. When I was 5, my cousin had her first brain surgery for epilepsy. She subsequently had 3 more. At age 8, I was diagnosed with severe dyslexia, and my teacher told my mother if I graduated high school, they would consider it a win. At 40, I was diagnosed with ADHD, and when I had my oldest, she was diagnosed the same, not surprisingly, at 5 years old. I was prepared for this one. This year, she was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. At 3 months old, my youngest had her first seizure, and then another one at 6 months, and multitudes after that. We like to consider our family neurosparkly. And I share this because I think it's important for you all to understand why this work is important. Why I have a passion for universal design for learning, universal design in general. You must understand the lifetime that I've had in this work. You could say it was predetermined. I find that is often the case with folks that work in disability work. You're not typically going to find someone that doesn't have a connection to those who need to be included, those who are often forgotten about when the world or academics doesn't seem to fit for them. You don't often find people in this work who have never had to help support a loved one through a challenging time where you feel your central nervous system is out to get you. It's just not cooperating. Those of us in this field are warriors for inclusion, and that is why our work is essential. Having a disability is the only underrepresented group you could join at any time in your life. You can go to bed tonight non-disabled. And that could change it at instant. We don't get a vote. So the research in this field does not just help those who need it today, but it helps those who will need it tomorrow, or those who don't not yet know that they need those supports until they get access to them. And the world seems a little bit brighter. So I don't know if my slides are up on this on the backdrop, so I'll just run them from my computer. But why I feel teaching without limits matters, as I mentioned, I now work in higher education, and there are growing populations of students with disabilities in higher education. We are actually seeing this pivot where students who were not otherwise diagnosed growing up come to a university settings and realize they need those supports. They're reaching out to our offices at an accelerated rate. We estimate roughly 30% of US freshman college students will need supports at some point in their academic career. And the traditional systems rely on accommodations after barriers. The student has already failed. Now what do we do? And inclusive design creates access from the very beginning, and that's what I love about this work. It focuses on belonging, engagement, and participation from the very beginning. But access must be built into learning environments, and that's why this work in universal design, the work that Boostability is doing, the work in AI more generally speaking, is so critically important because it is baking access into the design of this work. It might have started with a passion for helping those who have been forgotten or left out of the conversation, but it has truly grown to expand upon that to include everyone. Universal design for learning supports engagement, representation, and expression. At PACE, where I am a faculty member, we integrate UDL into faculty training so that faculty are setting up their courses and their classrooms, our learning management system from the very beginning, thinking about who isn't represented, who's in that open chair. Amazon uses this model of an open seat or an open chair in their board meetings. They always leave an empty seat. For Amazon, that represents the customer who doesn't get a voice when they're deciding the algorithms. How are we going to present products to you? In the academic world, that empty seat is our student. But which student isn't always represented in curriculum? Is it the student like me that has dyslexia? Is it the student like my daughter with ADHD? Is it the gifted student? Is the student with academic challenges? Is it the blind student? Is it the deaf student? Who are we not including? When we think about things from a universal design standpoint, we're not waiting for that student to enter our classroom and say, this doesn't work for me. We're proactively approaching it saying, who could potentially come into my classroom and need supports? Again, we see that these supports don't just support that student who is requesting an accommodation, but everyone who is involved in a UDL learning environment. What I love about Boostability and this collaboration, it enables scalable accessibility solutions. One of the main reasons why a lot of folks shy away from UDL is because it's hard to implement. It's hard to scale. And Boostability is allowed for that. You don't have to worry about the scalability of breaking down a long research paper for a student who has executive functioning concerns. It will accommodate that student on an individual basis. The endpoint is the same. They're going to get that paper done. But what it takes to get them there can be individualized and scalable. And partnership drives systemic inclusive transformation. I love working internationally. I love working with other universities. It's a sharp pivot from corporate marketing where I was marketing my job and my product and my company. Education by its very nature is very collaborative, and we get into rooms like this and we talk about this joint need. It doesn't matter if you're in Israel, the United States, the South Pole. These are things that we see globally are going to support students that need help. And access becomes a shared institutional design principle. We're not looking at it just from the students that are in my classroom, in my country, in my culture, speaking my language. I've worked with Effort. I've also worked with a few faculty members, I believe, are on other panels from K. And the first thing we recognized when we got into a room together is we're a lot more similar than we are different. I might teach in Lower Manhattan, New York, but the concerns that I see in classrooms are the same ones that we see in Israel. We're seeing that students who are not engaged don't learn. And often they're not engaged because the curriculum's not accessible to them. Imagine you're sitting in an environment and no one is speaking the language that you need to hear. And it's not just the language being Hebrew, Yiddish, English, Spanish. It's also, what's that communication language? Am I able to express that I need an assignment broken down into smaller parts? Am I able to express that when there are fluorescent lights and a lot of talking and you're going over the syllabus and you're asking me to respond, that's too many variables at once. And I need you to stop at each point and check for my understanding. Because if I don't feel that I can communicate that, or if I don't have a way of communicating that, my engagement drops significantly. And when my engagement drops, I'm not learning. So it's really critically important for us to be thinking about, how do I engage learners? The other thing that we consider with universal design is that inclusivity and feeling included. It was a really humbling day the first time my 7-year-old came home from school and told me she didn't have friends because no one was interested in what she was interested in. And in class, when they were learning the math, that was easy. But no one understood why she sometimes needs to put headphones on her ears, or why sometimes she needs the teacher to write things down on the board so she could see it, because she was the only one that it was being done for. Now imagine a world where the teacher doesn't say, Annalise Blum, I'm doing this for you, but rather I am doing this for all of us because it helps everyone. And anyone who needs these supports, they're available to you. Well, now she's not just the kid who sits in the front and has things written on the board special for her. We're making a bridge. And maybe a child who sits in the back of the classroom will recognize, hey, you know what? That helps me learn too. And that's really the message that we're sending. So I was so incredibly honored when Effort reached out to me to join this group of global educators to really talk about, how do we bring universal design to students? How do we make every little Annalise Blum feel included? So that was really what I wanted to chat with you all. I know Efrat and I talked about having, time for questions and answers and opportunity to speak with all of you to hear what are some of the challenges that you're facing, and how do you see technology like Boostability fitting into your schedule, whether you're a busy K-12 educator and you have multiple children with multiple needs in your classroom, or you're teaching at a university. And by the way, we still see it at the university. I want to hear from all of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. Can you hear me now? I'm
I
so
can
freaked
hear
out
you
that it's
wonderfly.
Yes. I'll ask the audience שאלות. לא כולם ביחד. אין שאלות. Okay, so they have... אז את רוצה לבוא ולהתייחס?
לא, אז אני מאוד התחברתי למה שהיא אמרה, למעשה שאתה מביא איזושהי ככה נושא, נגיד אתה מעלה איזשהו נושא, שאתה יודע שבתחום מסוים ילד חסר לו, ואתה אומר, אם זה ככה בשבילך, זה לא רק בשבילו, זה עוד להרבה אחרים שבאמת מרגישים את החוסר ביטחון הזה במקום.
ולא צריך להגיד לילד הזה, זה בשבילך, כי אתה נמוך, מכוער, מוגבל.
לא לעשות את זה פתח בפורום, ולהגיד לי, יש פה משהו שזה עוזר לי, ומי
שרוצה להשתמש בזה.
לחשוף אותם תמיד, חשיפה זה דבר חשוב.
כן.
והמחויבות, שבאמת לסוף מחויבות, זה מגיל 0 עד, כאילו, מרגע מהגן עד כל החיים, ללמד מחויבות, ליצור מחויבות, דברים שכל הזמן מנסים לעבוד עליהם גם בבתי ספר, ליצור מחויבויות לתלמידים. אז יש לפעמים צ'ופרים, דברים שנותנים בגיל הצעיר יותר, ובגיל מתקדם יותר, אני מניחה שזה באמת משהו שצריך לבוא עם הזמן ולבנות אותו, זה לא משהו שקורה ברגע.
כן.
מחויבות אתה צריך לבנות אותה, וזה גם צריך לבוא בשיתוף פעולה, גם בבית וגם בכלל בית הספר והמערכת כולה, כדי ליצור את המחויבות הזאת. זה לא בעיה רק של בית הספר או רק של ההורים.
חד משמעית.
זה בעיה שכולם פה, זה משהו גלובלי, זה משהו שבאמת צריך להעלות אותו לשיח ציבורי גדול יותר, כדי לעזור לתלמידים באמת להביא את עצמם לביטוי.
יופי, עכשיו תקעת אותי, כי... Jennifer, she agrees with you. She even plus 100 on you on what you said, and she expressed it in Hebrew in Israeli school. Okay, yes.
I saw her nonverbals while I was speaking, so I saw a lot of nodding your head, and I very much appreciate that. Thank you. It looks like
Yeah,
we have a
we-
question from
Hold on. We have another question here.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, so what you were saying was very inspiring. I was wondering if you could give us a functional example of how you use AI tools to practice it
רגע, הוא לא עובד.
in
רוצה להתקרב.
real life.
לא, בגלל זה אני מסמנת לך שתבואי. Hold on.
I was gonna
Rachel.
ask if maybe she could come closer to the mic. I'm having
Yeah.
a hard time hearing her.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
heard
בוא
AI.
לפה, בוא לפה. בוא לפה.
Hi.
נשמע אותך. Hi.
Thank you for what you said. It was very inspiring. And I was wondering if you could give us an example of how you practice with AI tools, like one example, how you do it in real life with your students or with the school children.
Yeah, absolutely. And also one of my colleagues, Tom, is going to be talking a little bit later. But so I'll give you two examples. So at the university, we use a lot of different types of AI. So we use AI for simulations. So I teach teachers. I do teacher training. And one of the things that students often need a lot of practice with is parent-teacher communication. How are they engaging with parent? And the hard thing is when you are learning to be a teacher, you don't have a lot of opportunities to talk to parents because of the nature of teacher training. So we use AI to simulate parent-teacher conferences. So I actually worked with our Seidenberg School, which is a computer science school, to create software that simulates so we can have it be a concerned parent, a concern that is a parent who's upset, a parent who is not willing to engage, and all these different types of personalities, and go through, maybe delivering some not so wonderful news. Maybe the student is not doing well in class. Maybe they're having challenging behaviors. Maybe their academics. We want to look at an IEP, an individualized education plan, or maybe we're looking to have interventions for their behavior, or the conversations that are not always easy. And we can rehearse that so that the first time they're going in, they're not offending a parent. We also, in New York, we have a lot of different cultural aspects. I am in a multicultural household myself. My husband is Jewish. I was raised Catholic. My children walk in both worlds. We have Jewish teachers teaching Muslim students. We have all these different dynamics. And I remember the first time I had a parent-teacher conference with a Muslim parent, and I reached my hand out to shake the dad's hand, and of course he didn't take it. And that threw me off. I didn't know what to do after that. I was like, does he not like me? Does he not respect me? It derailed the entire conference when really it was just a cultural thing that I was not aware of, and so I made a cultural faux pas. And so this use of AI really helps new beginning teachers to feel that confidence. Another way that we're using AI in our classrooms is through similar ways that effort has boostability. This idea of asking AI to break things down into smaller pieces and help with that executive functioning. The reality is, if you're a teacher in New York City and you have 30 little people in your room who need 30 different variations, that could suck up a lot of your time that could be spent on instruction. And so using AI to help if I have an IEP goal, and using that IEP goal to leverage how we're maybe changing the lesson to include different learning styles, or how we're pivoting a big assignment to break it down into smaller pieces. So those are two particular examples of how at pace we're using AI, both in the K-12 environment, because we are training our student teachers to use AI when they're going to schools. And then also at the university level, we're using AI.
Thank you. Another question? שאלה?
I thought we had a question on the Zoom from Rachel
Let's
earlier.
wait.
She had her hand up.
Hey, Rachel, welcome back.
Hello. Does anybody in the audience have a question first? Because I can certainly wait.
Yes. בוא לפה. Yes, someone that I know closely is coming with a question.
I see him.
Yeah.
So I've used the model currently of boostability, and I'm wondering when will the notification thing come
זה
into
אליי, זה לא אליהם.
את פה?
אבל מה אתה שואל
אה.
אותם את זה?
Never mind then.
Okay.
I don't handle the programming side. I just do the implementation side.
Yeah, she can tell you when it's going to be in pace. Yes, Rachel, go ahead.
So it was really nice hearing you speak about PACE, and it sounds like you're doing so much amazing work. I work with college students individually, and so I get to see a lot of colleges and a lot of professors and how they roll out AI, what their policies are, and just in general how they handle accessibility. And I find that the Student Accessibility Office is amazing for the most part. They're willing to accommodate. They want to help students, and hearing you talk about UDL for learning. I worked with K through 12 schools and implementing programs with UDL for learning, and it seems like it's so present in K through 12, and then you go to a university. A student goes to a university, and teachers are now professors. They don't always have any training in education and how to teach. They're experts in their field. So they could be an amazing computer scientist. They could be amazing biologists, but they're not necessarily teachers. And so how do you at PACE bridge that gap? Because it seems like your office is really focused on that UDL. And do you feel like you're making progress in being able to kind of bridge that gap? And then also just coming along, since this is an AI conference, do you see AI being helpful in bridging that gap for professors?
Thank you for that, Rachel. And I will share that my colleague's on the call and she works tirelessly. So I'm sure she has a camera off, but I'm sure she's got a big smile, Rachel, because she is definitely part of the fiber that makes that possible. Prior to taking on this new role in the accessibility office, I was working in our faculty center, and I think that's where it started. Is all brand new faculty to PACE are required to go to UDL training. So we work with a couple of companies that give them actual certificates in it. And the reason for that is it's twofold. One, it's always easier to start off with that being the culture than to implement it later, right? So if I were to talk to somebody before Jen, before I started doing this, and they've been at the university for 30 years, their transition was notably more difficult. But for the past, I'd say almost 10 years, we've been doing this with new faculty when they're oriented. They come in, they get a training when they start, and then they do what we call Faculty 101. They take a class, just like freshmen take a freshman seminar. They take it with me, and whether they like it or not. And then it's an entire semester of learning these things. And what they always come back and tell me is, oh, that makes my job so much easier. Yes, it does. Absolutely. If you give students things like choice, right? Like, oh, wow, I'm not nagging them to finish this if I give them the option of presenting a video or PowerPoint or a paper. And not every assignment can give you choice, but when you embed it in there, students are less resistant. I think that the other aspect is our accessibility office is just that. No pun intended. We're very accessible. Our staff are pretty much always on call and willing to answer questions, not just for the students, but they work with the faculty. We have one colleague and he's really good with assistive technology. And so you have a blind student in your class for the very first time who uses a screen reader, and you're used to pushing paper in your class. And what do I do? Don't worry, Cal to the rescue with his cape on. He's like, just send me what you hand out. I'll make it accessible for you. So I think that faculty trust us, that we're not looking to make their job more difficult. And I think that's why we've had very good response overall from the faculty, understanding we're here to help you as much as we are the students, because we understand that if the faculty member is better able to teach, the students are better able to learn. And we manage the student side, right? We make sure the students get their accommodations and they graduate. So if the faculty member working with them has less resistance, their experience is better. Ultimately, our experience in our office is better because we're getting fewer students who say, my professor won't meet my needs. My professor won't accommodate me, or even just reaching out to our office. If we're known as a disability-friendly university, that person who had a 504 in high school is more likely to come to us before the semester starts and say, hey, I had a 504 in high school, and I heard you're friendly with this process. You want to help me out? And so I think that's how we've been able to get on board with the UDL, because faculty members see repeatedly, oh, wow, a lot of my students need note-taking services, for example. That's one way we use AI. We have 3 different companies that we work with that offer solutions. So we work with Verbit, for example, who does captioning services for all of the major television networks. So we know that their captioning service is pretty good. They also offer, after they transcribe it with a human, they offer AI notes automatically that are chaptered. We use Messenger Pigeon as another note-taking service that students can use. And then we just recently started working with Share the Board, which is a Polish company, and they screen capture. So if I'm a professor of math and I write a math equation on the board, it'll capture it not only in my handwriting, but it'll convert it to typed. So it's easy to read. And then, and then now I can download those notes. And it automatically adds the audio description. So if I'm a blind student, I'm not just hearing, there's a pie chart, but I'm hearing, there's a pie chart and it is made up of these categories, and this is how much is represented, and it's able to make it accessible, and it's not creating a PDF, because PDFs are not always screen reader friendly. And it's really thinking about that. That's another AI tool that we use. And again, when a faculty member enters the classroom and they're like, I don't have to do anything, I have to hit one button. Okay, I'll do it. And then now it's not just the blind student who's getting those notes. Everyone registered for that class now gets the notes. And so what do we see? Oh, when I have really good notes, I do better on my exams. My GPA is higher. I'm more likely to graduate, and then I'm more likely to be employed after graduation. Now I'm a professor at a school with a high graduation rate. That makes me look better. Right. And so it's this trickle down theory. And that's, I think we've been very fortunate that we have a lot of administrative support too.
Excellent.
Sounds amazing. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, Rachel.
Thank you. So we have a last question here.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Jennifer. I'm
Hi.
Adi. Hi, thank you for sharing your experience. I wanted to know whether your teachers, when they practice skills with the students, do they say specifically that they practice skills? For example, whether they when they practice critical thinking or creativity or time managing, do they tag this? Do they name this? Do the students know what they do when they actually practice skills? And if you do you see value while you're doing it? Thank you.
That's a really great question. And I think it's the cornerstone of why UDL is so important, because I think historically when we worked with students with disabilities who had either an IEP or a 504 or they were getting related services, we created this vacuum, right? We siloed them. And so everyone knew this child got something different. That all changes when you use UDL, and you can say that we're practicing time management because guess what? We all need to learn how to manage our time. And for me, time management means setting alerts in my calendar. I need a reminder for everything. I need a reminder to my daughter graduated preschool today. I needed a reminder that I had to get there by X time. And I need a reminder that my children's dance recital is on Saturday. But also, I needed a reminder to buy tickets to said recital. Those are the things that I need personally. And when you open up the conversation about why you're doing this, that why question is critically important for engagement, but it also engages everyone. It's not just that kid who needs a visual schedule on their desk anymore. It's having a broad conversation about, hey, for me, I like to see my schedule every day. How do you like to keep on top of your task? How do you know when it's time to eat dinner? How do you know when it's time to go to bed? Do you need to go to bed by certain time? Do you like wind down time before bed? Engaging in those conversations as a whole group, that's the cornerstone of UDL. And when you do that, that kid who needs the visual schedule on their desk becomes less of this siloed individual, that kid that needs that special thing, because we all need something special. We all need the tools that make our lives more manageable and easier. And I think that's really a hallmark of UDL. So yes, when you're using UDL, I like to tell them, what is the skill we're learning and why is it important?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions? Okay.
אנחנו יכולים לתלות, לחשוב אליהם ולדבר.
They would like you to come over. That's what they're saying.
יכולים לתלות.
Soon.
Believe me,
Place on the board, and then after we talk about things, we can move on the list and talk about the world, the skills.
Yes.
Okay?
So Jennifer, when you're here, כן. when you are here, we will get together again, and it's going to be in real life, and we'll not struggle with it. But thank you so much. Go back to the graduation. And,
thank you.
It's
all over.
It's all over.
It actually worked out. Yeah. But just thank you so much to everyone for inviting me. And I look forward to continued collaborations. I'm just a Shiksa, but my heart is always in Israel. So definitely I look forward to the next opportunity to collaborate with everyone. Thank you again.
Start in October. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.